In this video, we're going to be going over the most famous skate spots that no longer exist. These are spots that you've seen in countless videos, you've seen them on magazine covers, you've seen them in video games, you've seen them everywhere, but their notoriety eventually got the best of them and now they're either destroyed or they're skate stopped. Love Park in Philadelphia is about as iconic as a skate spot can be. It'd take way too long to name every single trick that went down there, so I'm not even gonna try, but trust me whenever I say that it's been featured in a ton of videos over the years. And if you've been skateboarding for any considerable amount of time, you should probably know about it. If you're a fan of Mark Suciu, Chris Cole, or Stevie Williams, then you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. There's just been so much stuff there that it doesn't make sense to try to name all of the iconic tricks. The battle to keep Love Park alive was fought for years, but it eventually ended when the city decided to just tear down the entire park and rebuild it to make it less skate friendly. There were a lot of really creative efforts to keep it going, but one of the most respectable attempts was whenever Ed Bacon, who's Kevin Bacon's dad, and also the city planner responsible for Love Park, skated across it back in 2002 as a way to defy the mayor and the city council that was attempting to ban the skateboarding there. It was pretty sick to see, especially because he was 92 at the time and the cops basically just had to stand there and watch because, let's face it, it's not the best look to arrest a 92-year-old for skateboarding, especially when he's the one that designed the park in the first place.
I deliberately skate in my beloved Love Park. Oh. Oh God! Thank you, thank you, thank you! My whole damn life has been worth it just for this moment.
So next to Los Angeles, Barcelona is arguably the skate capital of the world and it's filled with spots. Out of all the spots in Barcelona, Macba is hands down the most popular, and trust me whenever I say that there's a ton of stuff to skate there. I've actually been to Macba a few times and there's so much stuff there that you could probably skate there all day without getting bored. Nowadays, Macba is mostly just known for the ledges out front and maybe the ledge to street gap that a lot of people will skate, but back in the day, it used to be known for the Big Four out back. So sometime around the summer of 2009, things changed whenever a redesign had the 4-block turned into a 3-block, which is kind of weird because usually a redesign just gets rid of the spot altogether, but I don't know, it's pretty cool to see that it's still there, they just made it smaller. After they got rid of the top block and turned it into a 3-block, it just didn't get skated as much. Not to say that it doesn't get skated still, but just not as often as it used to, and it's definitely not in as many full-length videos. If you follow Macba Life on Instagram, then you're definitely aware that people still jump down it, but it's just not in any full-length videos or any pro videos that you're gonna see coming out. Now, about a year ago, Volcom sponsored a contest there where they rebuilt the 4th block, but I think it was just temporary, and I don't think it's still there. I'm pretty sure they removed it after the contest, and I tried to look around online, but I couldn't figure it out, so just check the comments, and I'm sure someone will say whether or not it's still there. So when I was growing up, it seemed like the Brooklyn Banks were the most popular spot in New York. The Brooklyn Banks have been in dozens of skate videos and edits and magazines, and it was even in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, so I feel like every skateboarder out there knows about the Brooklyn Banks. The main spots there were a small bank, a big bank, and 3 sets of stairs with handrails, so you could either skate the banks, or you could skate the sets, or you could skate the rails. And of course, there was so much flat ground space that a lot of people brought ledges and flat bars, so there was always stuff to skate there, and it was definitely one of those spots where you could just go to and hang out all day. The spot has been in limbo for years, and it kept going back and forth between being completely fine to skate and then a total bust. A few years back, things really started to decline whenever they got rid of the small banks, and then they started storing construction equipment there, which basically made the whole thing unskateable. Now, there was a period of time after that where it was cleared out and people were skating it again, and even with the NYPD headquarters right across the street, it didn't really seem like anyone really cared, but then for some reason they changed their mind, and as of now, it's a massive bust. So Embarcadero, or EMB for short, was essentially the go-to street spot in San Francisco in the 90s. The reason why is because unlike other street spots that might only have 1 or 2 things to skate, Embarcadero was an entire brick plaza, and it was filled with stairs, ledges, manual paths, and plenty of space for flat ground. Embarcadero was basically the equivalent to a modern-day Macba or a Love Park. Well, before Love Park got destroyed. It was the main spot that people met up at to skate in San Francisco in the 90s, and there was just a ton of stuff there that you could skate. Also, the way it was built, it was pretty easy to get creative because the ledges and the manual pads had varying heights, so you could easily get really technical on it, and there were just so many different ways you could skate there. The plaza was destroyed in 2000, but while it was around, people filmed there constantly, so you can see it in a lot of older videos. The Hubba Hideout got destroyed a really long time ago, so it's getting to the point where a lot of younger skaters don't even know about it, but it's easily one of the most iconic spots in skateboarding. The only reason why skateboarders call a ledge that goes down a set of stairs a hubba is because of the spot. This makes it the only spot in skateboarding that actually had an obstacle named after it. If you watch any full-length video from the 90s and early 2000s, chances are you'll spot a clip at Hubba Hideout. It's pretty easy to point out. It had two perfectly symmetrical hubbas, and there are very few spots out there that are like it. Again, it's been completely destroyed for years, but if you have a copy of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, then you can still skate it along with Embarcadero.
That first ledge that goes down then goes flat, when you get onto that, if you mess up and fall over the other side, I mean, you're going over like a 40-foot drop and you're probably gonna die.
For some reason, it seems like there just can't be a decent hubba spot that doesn't get torn down. It really sucks that this spot is gone because outside of mainland China, it's really hard to find a decent hubba, and Clipper was basically perfect. The spot had a hubba that ran along 2 sets of stairs, but most people just skated the second set. The hubba was only on one side, but there was plenty of space in the landing, so a lot of people would actually skate it like a gap. Whenever it became known that the spot was going to get torn down, Thrasher came in and hosted a Buster Bail there, and if you haven't seen the video, then I definitely recommend checking it out. I'm going to leave it linked in the description, so I'm not going to name any of the tricks that went down, but if you haven't seen it already, just trust me whenever I say that it's worth watching. The Carlsbad Gap was just one of several skate spots that are at Carlsbad High School, but it was definitely the most well known. For what seemed like the longest time, the Carlsbad Gap was one of the top spots in skateboarding. It was a really popular gap for pros to skate, and there was a period where it seemed like a new trick was going down every few months. Most people just skated the gap, but it also had a pretty gnarly kinked rail and a stair set that people would also skate. The spot lasted from around 1994 until 2012, so it was definitely around long enough for most skateboarders to know about it. When it became known that the spot was going to get torn down, Transworld came in and hosted a contest there, which was basically like their version of a Buster Bail. I'll leave it linked in the description, but if you want to look it up, just search for Last Times at Carlsbad, and it's the first video that'll come up. Okay, so I think it's safe to say that El Toro is the most iconic spot in skateboarding. Now, there are a lot of famous skate spots out there, but let's be honest, very few of them even come close to it. For those who don't know, El Toro is a 20 stair in Southern California that used to have a rail on each side and then one going down the middle. Eventually, they took out the middle rail, but people still skated the set and the side rails. So even though El Toro isn't the biggest stair set in skateboarding, for some reason, it just became the go-to spot for anyone who either wanted to jump down a big set or jump onto a big rail. Not only is it the most well-known spot in skateboarding, but it's also the most recent to be skate stopped. A few months ago, the school added a gate to the top along with some grooves in the cement to stop people from skating it. Some people have said that it's still skatable, and I think most skateboarders are hoping that it is, but the whole reconstruction is still pretty new, so at this point, I don't think anyone really knows, and only time will tell if someone goes back and skates it. So if you made it this far in the video, please do me a favor, just leave a like. That's all I ask for. Maybe a comment, maybe follow me on Instagram. And with that said, thanks for watching.